if you're in Southern California and you need some quiet time surrounded by beautiful gardens and you enjoy vibrant and fresh cuisine and a little bit of wine, a little bit of wine, you may want to visit Sherman Library Gardens and Jardin Cafe. It is in Corona del Mar, and that is where travel writer Linda Kissam, the food, wine, and shopping diva, she recommends that when you're in Southern California. We know what it's like in traffic and all that bustling that goes on in SoCal, but she's a SoCal diva, and she grew up in Southern California, and she discovered this beautiful gem. And everyone, you're listening to Big Blend Radio with Nancy and Lisa, the mother-daughter travel team and publishers of Big Blend magazines. And we're thrilled to have Linda Kissam back on the show, and she's bringing two special guests, Chef Pascal Olhatz and also Garden Director Scott Lafleur. And they're going to give us some of the locals' insider scoop on this beautiful, beautiful destination. You can read Diva Linda's article in the summer issue of Big Blend Radio and TV magazine that comes out in May. But you can also go right to the website, blendradioandtv.com, to read it there. And Diva Linda, it's good to have you back on the show. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you very much. This was a really important trip to me because, as you know, what are the top three things that I love? I love gardens, I love restaurants,
shopping,
and I love shopping, and I love wine. There you go. So the top four things, I guess. And this has it all. It's a great place.
Oh, wonderful. Looking at the photos, and I know Nancy and I want to be there. I wish we were there doing our show with you guys in person. But I want to bring on our next guest, Scott. Scott is the director of the gardens. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, you guys.
Hey, and I want to give out your website so people can follow along, too. It is slgardens.org. Everyone go check it out, and you'll see why we're talking about this is such a beautiful gem. So good to have you on the show. And we also have Chef Pascal with us. Chef, welcome. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great. Thank you. And very happy to share our piece of jewelry from Southern California with you.
Yes, and I hear that your food is it's like French, Mediterranean, California blended together over at the Cafe Jardin.
Yes, we do touch of Southern California coastal cuisine to really blend into those beautiful, amazing garden.
I love the garden setting. And you said blend, and that's our favorite word.
Yes.
So you get 10 points already.
Well, blending is a landscape, either in food and garden. It's part of our landscape.
I see.
That's right.
That's important.
Yay.
Now, Diva Linda, apparently you didn't really know about Sherman Gardens yet, and in the library, and you went into the library. Is a big research library, which I had no clue about. I know all our family history buffs are going to want to come running out there because it's when you get these kind of research libraries where I think you wrote in your article over 15,000 books. Wow. I mean, that's amazing. It's amazing.
It is. It is an amazing place because what I thought I was going to see was a garden and a restaurant, and this is unbelievable. I am a Southern California person. I was brought up there. I was born there. And every 2 weeks I go to something called Bristol Farms. Who knew that right across the street from Bristol Farms was this amazing garden? I had no idea. Years and years of driving past this, it looks like a storefront. It looks like a botanical kind of gift shop. I had no idea that it opens up into this amazing garden, this amazing restaurant, and a research library. Who knew? I mean, lots of times I have to do research, and I have friends that are into genealogy and stuff, and what a wonderful place this is. It's just, whether you're into gardens or whether you're into just wonderful, wonderful food in a beautiful setting, or you need to do some research on California, I'm telling you what, this has got to be the place.
I love this.
She's sounding very happy camper.
I know.
Yeah.
This is Diva approved. I mean, you get stars and sparklies for this.
Scott, but who knew? But who knew? I want to smack myself for all the years that I've missed this. I mean, I could be going to Bristol Farms and then spending an hour in the gardens or going to tea or doing whatever, or doing a little research. Who knew? I mean, this is just one of those it should have been I should have known, and I didn't, so I want everybody else to know.
Well, we're working on that, Linda. We're working on that. We once got an award that we were the hidden gem, and I said, well, that's really nice and all, but I don't want to be the hidden gem. I want to be the real crown of the jewels. And that's really what Corona Del Mar stands for to begin with. And so I want to be a real jewel in the crown of Southern California. And when you think Southern California, you might think of the Huntington or Descanso Gardens or something else, but you should also think of Sherman Library and Gardens. We are one of the most amazing gardens, a nationally recognized botanic garden, 2.5 acres taking up the entire city block here in Corona Del Mar.
Can you give us a background on how the garden actually started? I was looking at your website. It started from a nursery, right, and then kind of grew from there?
It did, right. And so sometimes people get a little confused. We are Sherman Library and Gardens, and we are named after Moses H. Sherman. And Moses H. Sherman actually came from Vermont. He went and moved to Arizona, and he became the very first superintendent of schools. He is also kind of a land speculator, and he loved railroads, so he also owned a railroad line in Arizona. He actually kind of ended up there penniless and built himself a fortune. So by the time he left Arizona, he had donated the land that the Arizona State Capitol sits on. But then he thought about the future, and he said, you know what, the future is L.A. And when he got to L.A., there was only about 50,000 people here, and by the time he passed away, there was about 10 times as many as that here in Southern California. So it's kind of quite a story that he did that. So he showed up here in Southern California, started hanging out with his friends like Henry Huntington and Chandler from the LA Times and Otis Redding and other big names of the early Southern California world. He actually owned a railroad called the Balloon Route, which went from the Santa Monica Pier and around LA and back to the pier, and it was the very first one that did that. He put up the Hollywood Land sign. He was part owner of the Hollywood Land Corporation. And if you know Sherman Oaks, that was actually his private ranch at one point, which is now one of our biggest and bustlingest cities out in the valley. So he's had a long history here in Southern California, but he didn't start this garden. Our founder was named Arnold Haskell, and Arnold Haskell was Sherman's right-hand man, the accountant, the business end, and Sherman was the more freewheeling salesman of things. And there was a good 20 years difference between the two of them, and Mr. Haskell worked for Mr. Sherman his entire career until Mr. Sherman passed away on one of the islands here in Newport Harbor and left the business holdings to Mr. Haskell, who started Sherman Library and Gardens in his honor, his mentor, his friend, and he wanted to house the papers of Sherman, the M.H. Sherman Company, and he also loved gardens and wanted to create a cultural center here in Corona Del Mar.
Wow. What a story. I mean, talk about family history and history. I mean, here we are in Tucson in Arizona, for now, and we're thinking of this move from Arizona over to LA, and that's just such an amazing story for both of them to create this and then have the cultural center like you were saying. So does that what started to develop into having this amazing library?
Well, the library was part of one of the real key reasons he started. He had Mr. Haskell had all the papers from the M.H. Sherman Company. So correspondence going back, well into the early 1900s, late 1800s, all sorts of different things. And Mr. Haskell knew that those papers and those resources would be important to the history of Southern California. And so that's really where kind of it all started. He needed a place to put those important papers. And so the library started, and from that library, he kind of built out and he built the gardens. And you mentioned the nursery, because what happened was Mr. Haskell lived here in Corona Del Mar. Our little adobe building, the oldest structure we have here on the property, was a nursery called Norman's Nursery. And Mr. Haskell would drive by and he would stop and he would buy plants. And, I think finally he got to know the owners and just asked them if they would sell the property. And they did. And he slowly bought up the entire block here in Corona Del Mar and put up our tropical conservatory, was the last one built in 1971. So.
Wow.
Man.
Wow. Talk about someone who did the opposite of paving paradise, right?
Yeah.
This is great.
Right, exactly, exactly.
I want to go to Chef Pascal here because, Chef, when you think about Moses Sherman and, this whole journey to get all these things built. You've traveled around pretty extensively in your career, and you've won so many awards and the accolades. I mean, it's quite a list. We could do a 3-hour show with you on that. But
good, sure, let's do it.
Okay. You bring the champagne and the cheese.
Sure.
But tell us a little bit about your background of going, from France, and then how you ended up in Corona del Mar. And I know you also have more restaurants as well.
Yeah, on a short description, I came in California in 1984, and then opened my first restaurant in 1988. And around 1995, I was approached to come to Sherman Jardin Library, and when I saw the place, I fall in love. And there's no other better place to be, being surrounded with these beautiful gardens on the water works, and then these koi pond. Everything is magic. And so being part of this was perfect. And yes, of course, it is a little hidden. It's a gem, but once you are in paradise. It's like an oasis in Corona del Mar. And so since 1995, been there, and then we do luncheon, we do brunch, we do events. It's a great place for weddings. We have beautiful weddings events here all year long, and it's unbelievable.
Diva Linda, tell us about your foodie experience.
Well, we were treated. I was with a group of press people, and we were treated to a wonderful lunch. Oh my gosh! I mean, at first we said, "Where's Chef? Where's Chef?" And somebody said he's out in the garden gathering some herbs and stuff. So we knew this was going to be great, and our menu was just beautiful and Mediterranean and fresh. And I think. So don't go there and expect that you're going to get a hamburger and fries. That isn't the experience. You're surrounded by fountains and flowers and blue skies, and it's California. And you're going to get this wonderful mixture of Mediterranean, French, and California cuisine. And I one of the things that, the presentation of the food in itself will just knock you out. I mean, that's what Pascal has wherever you go with him. I've been to several of his restaurants, and each one is really special and very different and not the same. And this one was just light and lovely, like a rose garden, as best I can explain it. And then we had, I think, 3 wines that he picked, and they were just. Of course, they were perfect because he picked them. I mean, he's great at pairing food and wine. So for me, who likes food, wine, and gardens, this was like the ultimate experience. I can just tell you that everything was made perfectly. It was beautifully presented, and I think Sherman Gardens ought to be congratulated for allowing a restaurant to come in, or however that happened. I think that was a really smart move. It's sort of like going to Disneyland. You go to all the rides first, and then you want to eat. But here you don't just get stuck with a soda and a hot dog. Here you get relax, and it's patio viewing, and oh my God, it's just a.
Well,
I want to go
thing
right
here,
now.
Linda.
I want to be there because when you just the flowers in the gardens. When I was looking at all the the tropical, it reminds me of Kenya, where we used to live. In Kenya, there's everything was gardens, and then you'd have tea, and I know you have a tea shop, but it was about eating outside as much as possible and being in an area where you are surrounded by nature and flowers, and the plants look so tropical to me that Nancy, you feel the same way? It's like Kenya.
Climate,
it's like Kenya, yeah. And so I really I want to come home. Scott, when are you building the bed and breakfast?
I would love to. But I was going to pick up on what Linda was saying. And, she was saying, it's kind of like when you go to the amusement park and you go on the rides and you get hungry. I was going to say the thing here is you can actually eat the rides because as she said, Chef Pascal goes out into the garden and collects things. And I mean, I remember one time we used parsley as an edging plant for one of our garden beds right in front of the restaurant, and the stuff was growing like gangbusters. We didn't know what to do with it. Chef Pascal comes out, starts grabbing it all, and makes an unbelievable parsley soup that he then served at the cafe that week. It was the coolest thing ever.
Cool.
See,
I like that.
What better to drink a glass of rosé in a rose garden?
See now.
There you go.
I mean, really.
We also do special events. We do serve tea twice a month, also afternoon teas, yes.
Yep.
And we also do a series of dinner, and we match a garden theme, and we have a special matching dinner with it. And it's really interesting experience as well.
Oh yeah, that's been so much fun. Chef Pascal and I came up with this idea called Garden Fusions, and don't pigeonhole him into French or Mediterranean cuisine because we throw curveballs at him from Hawaiian to Caribbean to all sorts of things. We have a horticulturist who will talk about the plants that are being used that night. He'll use those plants in the food itself, and so it's a great evening. Horticultural talk. Chef Pascal does a cooking demonstration. It's about a 4-course meal, and it is they're sold out all the time. It's amazing.
Wow,
that's
See,
I like this.
And I found the crown. Yeah,
she did. And by the way, Linda, we have to add 5 things onto the diva list because there's tea involved. There's wine, tea.
Tea. Yeah.
And the thing I wanted to bring up, Scott, too, is you're talking about all these events, but there's educational events too, and I think that's really important for people to know that you've got. I'm looking about. You've got events about how to do mosaics and floral classes and art classes. I mean,
wow, how cool!
I'm ready to
we strive to be a cultural center, and history, horticulture, and art are our 3 pillars, and certainly culinary arts is a major player in that as well.
Wow! And you're also part of the Newport Beach Garden Tour, right? That's coming up May 11th.
We are the Newport Beach Garden Tour. We have put this tour on for 22 years. It is the biggest fundraiser that we have for our gardens. Our volunteers work endlessly to pull this off, and we have wonderful community members who open up their homes and their gardens to us. And you get to go check out these places that you would never get to go into, behind gated communities, waterfront homes, and even, fairly small little cozy, quaint courtyards that you could really replicate at your own house.
Oh, my.
Nice.
Diva Linda, I think you need to go.
Yeah.
I want to go. Let's all go.
I do. And, one thing I wanted to talk about just a tiny bit is Pascal's love for elephants. And and although it's not part of the garden, it's part of this whole, community effort to do great things for great, for the world or whatever. But Pascal, can you just briefly explain your love of elephants?
Yeah, I do love nature, and this is why I love being in Sherman Garden. But also, my wife and I are very implicated in saving elephants who are in danger. And so we created an event called the Gray Events. And the last 2 years we held the event at the garden. It was beautiful. And this year we won't be able to do it for some reason, a personal reason. But anyway, I do believe, if you love flowers, if you love nature, you love animals, and food is what we have to protect from where we come from. If we protect flowers and plants, we protect bees, and so you need to protect bees, from bees to elephants. Is part of our past and it's part of our future. So I'm really involved in this type of activities.
Oh, we love that. We love that.
Isn't it just wonderful?
It's important, and when we all, as entrepreneurs or businesses, organizations, do something a step above what we do as our normal business. I think that's very important to have that kind of event because it's not only it's raising awareness. I think that's one of the most important things. There's the funding that's needed.
These days we talk about global warming, and so farming and gardening is part of the solution. and I want to be involved in that as much as I can as a chef.
Mm. Oh, we love that. We've done a number of shows on African elephants, and then recently we've been doing them about the plight of the Myanmar elephants, and done things on what's going on in elephants as travelers. That traveling doesn't mean you just jump on the back of an elephant.
If I can send a message, please tell your listener, never ride an elephant. It's not made to be ride because they abuse the elephant so we can ride them. Never buy anything that an elephant paint or an elephant don't dance and don't just look at them, appreciate them, but leave them alone.
That's Absolutely. Right. That's right. Diva Linda is also the president of the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association. I know that you're getting ready for your conference coming up this year, later this fall. But when you did your conference last year in Washington State, up in Whidbey Island, but when you're doing, because I know you go to a number of these conferences, do you hear the travel writing community talk more about what Chef Pascal is talking about in regards to being more aware of global warming and what we can do as writers to not just jump on the back of an elephant and to be more aware, be more sustainable as writers in what we write about and what we do?
Yes, it's always a big topic, and always a big topic, and there's always people on the left side and the right side of it. We had one person right in front of the conference, right before the conference, for some reason, post a article she had done on swimming with the dolphins. Oh my God, our Facebook just exploded, and it was on both sides. Yes, it's okay, or no, it's okay. Fundraising versus the naturalists and so forth. And it's these things about riding elephants and riding this and doing that to, animals probably were meant to be in their natural environment with, maybe some guarding by us, but certainly not interference. So, thank you for asking that. And it's a big topic. And all I have to do is put even a little something on our members-only Facebook page, and you would be amazed at the types of opinions that we get. Good, very good, mostly very good, and some that are just, on the opposite. What's wrong with swimming with the dolphins? What's wrong with putting your child on an elephant?
It's not good because they get sick.
Yeah.
I'll start a whole rant on it.
Well, even
I know.
Even to the point of wearing suntan lotion and going in the ocean. Maybe when that first started happening, we didn't know what we were doing, but now we do know. We know it's bad, so now it's trying to get people to stop. We're so used to using it, that you really shouldn't wear suntan lotion into the ocean.
There's ones that are fine, that are coral reef, they're recommended. There's better ones that are natural. Scott, that brings me to you about this in regards to the gardens. Isn't this also a hub of a place for people to learn and understand the environment better? Do you do anything with kids and have them come into the gardens ever?
Oh yeah, we have kids here all the time. Our docents do a great tour for children. We actually also work with a blind school. We have a really cool area called a sensory garden, and so there are plants in containers that are up high if you're in a wheelchair and can't bend over, but they're soft or they're fuzzy and they smell and they do some of them are kind of pokey and hard too, but they're a really great sensory gardens. We try to do things with children all the time. As far as global warming and climate change, that is, we all die without plants. Let's just put it out there.
Exactly.
If there's no plants and there's no bees, we're not here. The elephants aren't here. The dolphins aren't here. So it's really important that we pay attention to how we take care of our gardens and do the best we can to be stewards of the environment. And, creating beautiful landscapes for ourselves can be done in an ecological and responsible way. And, just like visiting and seeing elephants where you're not interfering or bothering them, or the same with the dolphins, you can do the same with plants. We really have a lot of great things, lecture series and others that people can learn from.
Awesome,
cool.
Awesome.
I like it.
Diva Linda, would you recommend, I know you're going to Sherman Gardens, as a 1-hour walk destination, because this is, part of the reason is we're trying to get people to go out and discover places that, if you are in a stroller or in a wheelchair, or, you're in a stroller, your mom's pushing you or something like that, or that it's flat and even, because so many walking places means you have to be an athlete, and some of us aren't, but this is a good way to get outside. So would this be a recommended 1-hour walk destination?
It would. This would be good for 1 hour. Hashtag 1 hour walk. It would be. In fact, I hope I did that when I was there. Yes, and don't forget that you can go many times a year because they have seasonal displays. So anybody can go. I went with my bad knee and limped around and didn't suffer too much for it, and I was very glad to see Chef Pascal and my glass of rosé. But it's a wonderful place. I do my 1 hour walk in the restaurant.
I have a question for each of you. You know how we like to talk about walking with, our heroes that we want to meet in life. So for each of you, I want to know if you could take a walk in the garden with anybody in the world, alive or passed on, someone you want to spend time with to gain some knowledge or just spend some quality time with, who would it be? And where would you take them into the garden? Where would you want to say, hey, I want to show you this? Is it a rose or is it in the fern grotto? I want to go in the fern grotto. And then I want to know what you're ordering at Chef Pascal. I want to know what do you want to eat there. So let's start with you, Chef Pascal.
Well, if I was in the garden with a very special person, and I was lucky enough a few years back to cook with for Julia Shai's 80th birthday, and I met her. We had a great time. I would love to walk through the garden with her and stop and be like a bee, smell the roses and go touch all these herbs and then come back in the kitchen and cook for her again. And I will serve her a nice grilled Spanish octopus or a braised lamb shank, and that will be the ideal day and the ideal lunch. Of course, we will knock our glasses of rosé together. That would be a fantastic day.
I want to come hang with you. I know she's an icon for sure, man, for sure. Scott, what about you? Who are you taking into the garden?
Oh, let's see. Who would I think I would take someone that's really special to me is Dr. Peter Raven. He is a real champion of the environment and of conservation, and I would love to take and walk him around the garden and show him all the amazing things that we do to take care of our garden ecologically. We have our very water-wise and extremely artistic succulent garden. And then I would head over to the cafe with him, and we would definitely get a nice glass of Cabernet. Chef Pascal always has a great glass of Cabernet there. I agree. I would order the Spanish octopus myself. The Scottish salmon is amazing as well. And then, of course, I'm a pescatarian, so I can also just pop my head into the kitchen and tell Pascal, hey, I was around the garden, picked all these great greens. Hey, do something with them for me, and he will. So it's a pretty special place like that. Pretty special place.
Awesome. I love this with the herbs and going in the garden and getting them right there. I mean, that's
fun.
Exactly.
And I have to say the beauty is that Scott and I get along very well, and we challenge each other with the theme of the garden, and it's a good. We are a good team, and the volunteers are amazing. So it's really fabulous.
That's awesome. I think it's great that you have a team and challenge because, it gets people to think and be creative. And that's the thing. Nature, there's nothing like nature to boost creativity, right? You've got that palette right out there, and it's like, yeah, let's go. Let's do something new and unique, Diva Linda, who are you taking in the garden?
Okay, so my sister and I are experimenting this year. We both moved, and I now have a winter home in Arizona, and she has one in Laughlin, Nevada. My sister and I are huge rose fans. And, of course, when you meet with the gardeners out here, they go, oh, my God, no roses. And I keep saying, I'm from Southern California.
That's not true.
Same thing.
Well, that's not true. Nancy and I have grown lots of roses in the desert. Trust me, it's actually one of the best places. I'm coming to your house before we leave on the road.
So I would like to include you along with my sister, and we need to meet with a rose garden specialist. That would be lovely if it was in this garden, and talk about the types of roses. Now, I eventually conned, or I don't know, what's another good word? Bribe, there's a good word. My landscaper into giving me 2 roses, and they're blooming beautifully. There's nothing wrong with them. Everything's okay. I think my sister also did tulips and some other SoCal things that maybe she shouldn't have done. But we'll just see. But it would be nice to get with a rose garden specialist and talk to them about what are the types of roses that we need to order for our desert landscapes. And after that, I'm with Pascal. I'd like to come back and have a glass of rosé and tea because my sister also is very much into tea. So rose gardens, teas, Pascal. What more could anybody want?
Tea roses.
Tea roses. Yeah, I love tea roses.
There you go.
Yes. I have rose specialists for you. Sure. I've got your hookup.
Okay. Send us all those roses to test in the desert.
Yes, we grew them in Joshua Tree area. We grew them. Yeah, we had a test garden in the back. And they worked, and they grew beautifully and organically, and it was yeah.
And then we got goldfinches.
Yeah, goldfinches came to eat the aphids on the roses, and so we didn't have to do any bad things to the plants, and it was a happy little garden.
In that dry climate, powdery mildew probably isn't a really big deal for your roses either.
No, we didn't have any of that.
No, you won't have that.
If they are organic roses, save the petals, and you can make you dry them and make great tea with the rose petals.
Yes,
see, this is
and
all
jam.
good.
Yep.
And jam. And if it doesn't work out, I'm going back to Seal Beach, California, and where I have all my other roses. So, Arizona better perform, or I'm gone. That's the way it goes.
Linda, I learned that don't plant the roses too close to like a wall on the house, especially if it faces the sun.
Yeah, because it's too hot.
It's too hot. So keep in the shade or at least 2 feet away from a wall.
And if you need anyone to dig the holes for you in the garden, I'm here. I like to dig in gardens for some reason, and I'm really good at it.
God.
And I think I was probably a grave digger in my past life. But anyway, that's nice.
Either that or she's going to China.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
Too much information. Okay.
Oh, man. Thank you all for joining us. Diva Linda, you always get, amazing places like Sherman Gardens. Everyone, you go to slgardens.org. It's Sherman Library and Gardens, and also go to Cafe Jardin. Now, Pascal, I was saying Cafe Jardin, and I said it, so now I'm not pronouncing that correctly either, right?
Well, I take it both ways. Cafe Jardin is the French way, but Cafe Jardin, if you spell it right, you will get to us.
Okay. Well, everyone, you'll find it. You can also keep up with Chef Pascal. Go to pascalrestaurants.com and /cafe-Jardin. Jardin?
Correct.
Jardin? I'll get
Good
there.
job.
All I need is a glass of rosé, and I can speak properly. But if I don't have my rosé, nothing happens. Or champagne. I want to thank you all. Thank you, Scott, for joining us. It was a pleasure chatting with you, too.
Thanks for having me. I really had a fun time with you guys.
Thank you, and
Thank
we'll
you very
see you all
much.
soon when we get to Southern California. We're coming for our garden walks, our rosé,
That's right.
and some good food out in the garden. So, yeah.
See you soon.
See you soon. Diva Linda, we're going to play your song. This is, Diva Linda has her own song. It is called the Diva Linda's Bossa. It is written by Misha Shellhaus, her son-in-law, and you can keep up with Misha at mishamusic.com. Incredible guitarist and songwriter and producer. But again, everyone, the article about Sherman Library and Gardens and Cafe Jardin is up on blendradioandtv.com. You can go there now. Just type in Sherman and you'll find it. Or Diva Linda, see her under our expert page, and you'll discover all the other places she's been as well. And here it is. We're going to play the Diva Linda Bossa. Enjoy.